nobody like this. You ain't seen nobody like this. You hear my sound all over town singing. Whoa. You ain't seen nobody like this. You ain't seen nobody like this. You hear my sound all over town singing. Whoa. I think there's something in the water. If you wanna take a sip, but be careful what you wish for. The faint of heart can't handle it. Everybody wants a piece of someone else's prize, but it ain't free, it don't come cheap. Only the strongest will survive. You ain't seen nobody like this.
Good evening and welcome to SA Soccer Roundtable, the high school edition. My name is Harry, and joining me tonight is Rafa. How are you? Braving the cold from the nice warm day from yesterday?
Yeah, here live in the living color in Killeen, Texas.
How long are you up though? So it's probably chillier up there, right? I know it was 40 something, or actually probably 50 something now down here.
Yeah, when I got here on Wednesday, it was hot, and then overnight in the morning when I to my visit, it was chilly and windy and cold. Actually, I had some rain overnight too, so that was good to hear come by. Nothing severe.
So tonight we're doing the Power 15, and then we'll go over the standings and preview kind of next week a little bit for that here. So let's get to it here because AJ's got a scrimmage, and I got to pick him up in about an hour. So we'll get through it as best as we can here. So dropping from last week, or actually, 3 weeks ago now, because we had the bye week due to the weather. Kerrville, Tybee, Davenport, Wimberley, and Canyon all dropped from their 15th, 14th, 12th, and 11th. So they were all in the bottom third of it here. Just looking at it here, Wimberley and Davenport still on the, just missed. Tybee and Canyon, kind of your thoughts on why they dropped out all the way?
To some tough losses, like I said, Kerrville, like I said, there were some high hopes for them, but they had some key losses against like Piper and also, Burning Champion and also Spencer Valley. Same thing with Canyon. They had a loss to Piper and also to I think it was Burning Champion. So those kind of, like I said, help bring them down out of the top 15. Davenport, like I said, they had a loss with Bernie. Same thing with Wimberley. They had a loss with Bernie, but like I said, they're within the striking distance of coming back up. So with the next five.
Through here, you have Jefferson, Kennedy, and the Lady Unicorns from New Braunfels for that here. Just the 6A27, both in the boys and the girls. Just not any real strong teams, but the 5A27 and the 4A27. It'll be kind of interesting when we look at those when we look at the standings on those for that here. So those are the just missed for the ladies. 15 Antonian for that here. 17 6-4. 6-4 in district, although that doesn't seem right. Did not copy right. But you had Antonian listed for that here. So your thoughts on Antonian?
Yeah, they had some key losses in district play, but they did have a good win last week. A little nail biter. They're able to.
It didn't copyright. They're 21-3-3 and 10-2 in district. I knew that wasn't wrong. I copied it. It was pasted wrong. So apologize about that for that here. But yeah, 21-3-3, 10-2 in district here. I think the last one that they had here, they lost to St. Prius, was their only loss, and then they lost at St. Agnes at the end of January.
Yeah, but they had a big win this past week, so like I said, that's what's kept them in the top 15.
14th, Lavernia, 8-3, 3-0-1.
Yeah, they actually a little setback. A draw with with Gonzalez, which Vernia was expected to win that game, heavy favorite, but they, like I said, Gonzalez pulled out a draw with them. But still, I think they're still one of the favorites for 27-4A. They have a big matchup coming up with the Kennedy girls. So, and you saw the Kennedy girls, they were 4-0 in district play. So that's going to be the key game coming up this week.
And moving on to 13, the Brennan Bears out of 6A29, 13-4, 8-2 in district.
So that tough 29-6A, it's like a 3-horse race currently. Like last year, Brennan, like I said, I didn't have them ranked the last time. They were would have been like in the next 5. Now they bounced in. Like I said, first round of district play, just 2 losses with O'Connor and Taft. So, like I said, nothing to be ashamed about losing to those teams. Like I said, last year was a dogfight with those 3 teams for that district title. And like I said, they're gonna play each other again. So, like I said, the second round is gonna come. So we'll see if the Bears can overcome those 2 losses and kind of throw a monkey wrench for that district 29-6A title.
Yeah, they got just a heads up here. They play Taft this week, so
yeah, key game.
It'll be interesting if they stay in the top 15, depending on how that result goes. Number 12, the Lady Jaguars out of Johnson.
Johnson's really kind of pulled it together after a little shaky non-district start. The big win was over, that shutout win over Lee. So that's propelled them into the top 15. They're tied with Lee and also with Reagan. So it's a 3-way tie for first in 28-6A. You know how that district is too as well. Just as tough as 29.
Well, they're a half a game out because according to Max Preps and my San Antonio, they're 7-1. Reagan and Lee are 8-1 in district, so a half game out right now.
Yeah. I know they had a bye this week, so they, like I said, they're back in it. So it's gonna come down to those 3 teams, especially when they face each other again here in this second round. We'll see who pulls away and gets the title.
Number 11, Southwest, the Lady Dragons, 11-2-1, 5-0-1 in district. So not a loss in district, but a setback in district nonetheless. Especially for the last couple of years.
Yeah, this one was a surprise that they had a scoreless tie with Southside, and kudos to Southside, keeping them from scoring. I think it might be one of the first times Southwest hasn't scored. And like I said, they've been on a roll with this in this district, so a little setback. And Medina Valley's on their heels, and this is one game. This is a present for Medina Valley when they play again, because that game was tight when they played the first time around. This tie could be a factor as far as who wins the district title.
Number 10, San Antonio Christian Lions. Out of Region 2, District 4 of TAPPS, who get ready to kick off the playoffs this week. So tune in tomorrow night for our first attempt at the TAPPS bracketology. So we'll see how that goes for that here.
So what can you say about San Antonio Christian? Great season with the district title. We'll see how far they go into the playoffs. Like I said, they could be one of the favorites to get to Ron. They have a pretty good shot. They've beaten some good teams. Like I said, I've seen them play non-district play. They went toe-to-toe with Bernie in one game. So they're battle tested. So keep an eye on them. We could see them in the Final Four there in Ron for TAPPS.
And congratulations to Coach Cano, the 50-50 podcast and friend of the show. His Lady Barons won today and clinched the third playoff spot out of District 2 Region 2 District 3 or District 4 there for here. So congrats. Pull that here. And then number 9, Reaganland Rattlers out of 6A28, the powerful one of the top districts in my opinion in all of Texas high school girls soccer, but 10-4-1, 8-1 district.
Yeah, the only setback they had was against Lee, which was a big win for Lee. But Reagan has bounced back, and like I said, they've beaten Johnson. So, like I said, you have those 3 teams, fighting for that district title for 26A. After a little shaky start of the non-district, games. You said they've kind of been roaring, they've roared back, and like I said, they've kind of been flexing their muscle now. And we'll see. Like I said, we'll see how this second round goes for them. Can this, get that win against Lee in the second, kind of the rubber match, and then can they beat, Johnson in the Ian's Cup game that's coming up next week in a couple weeks.
Number 9, Piper. Last week was non-rated. I give you a little bit of grief of, hey, why isn't Piper rated? This week they're solid. 13-2, 6-0 in district, and a pretty competitive 5A 26.
Yeah, they were, like I said, also the outside looking in, and they had 2 big wins at Canyon, and then they knocked off Bernie Champion. So, like I said, I have them here on the 8th spot. They have another big test coming up against Vincent Valley. That'll determine who's going to take the 26-5A lead. And keep an eye on Piper. Like I said, I did do a live stream for Piper when they played against Veterans Memorial. This team's legit. They have, they may be young, but they have a lot of technical skill. They work together well. Like I said, they could cause some damage in the playoffs and surprise some teams. So, like I said, they have a big test. We'll see if they can knock out Spencer Valley this Friday. And they're at Spencer Valley.
Yep.
So if they can not get a win, who knows that ranking could go a little bit higher.
And let's just put it this way: Smithson Valley is still has not been announced, so that'll tell you where Rafa thinks that they're at. Number 7, JP2, the Guardians, 23-4-1, 8-0 in district, tuning it up for the TAPPS playoffs for that here.
So another great season for them. Like it's another district title. They had some contenders, that challenged them, like New Braunfels Christian and Geneva, but they were able to fend them off. So they're looking for that repeat for the state title. Like I said, we'll take more in-depth look at that tomorrow, see who they have to face. But I think John Paul II has a really good chance of repeating that state title again.
Yeah, there's. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear.
And then O'Connor at number 6, 13-3-0 and 8-1 in district. Last week they were 5th, so they slid down one. For that here, I don't think it was really due to performance. I think might have been due to somebody stepping up a little bit more. But your thoughts on the Lady Panthers?
Still a dangerous team. Like I said, they're right behind TAF in that district race for 29-6A. They're going to face each other pretty soon. The first time, like I said, me and Coach Connor are actually out there. We live streamed the first game at Northside. TAF was able to get 2 goals late in that second half. Like I said, the rematch is going to come up. I think that one's going to be at Ferris. And
it's next Tuesday. I don't know where the location, but Taft O'Connor on the 21st for that here.
Yeah, I think that one's going to be at Ferris. And O'Connor plays really well on the turf, so this could be the game for them to get back into the title hunt.
Number 5, the champions, Burning Greyhounds, 14-2, 5-0, comfortably cruising.
Yeah, that's 2 big wins, knocking off Davenport, knocking off Wimberley. Those are the key games for that District 26-4A. That's pretty stacked. So they've already passed the first test. Like I said, we'll see how they can continue on, and when they face them again, like I said, they have a good shot. Like I said, into getting the district title for them, and we'll see again if they make another deep run for the playoffs.
The Lee Volunteers, your second team last week, took a little bit of a dive this week. Number 4, 14-1, 8-1 in district.
Yeah, Lee finally got a loss in district play against Johnson. Johnson really.
It was a convincing loss too.
Convincing. Yeah, it was a convincing win for Johnson. So, like I said, Lee had dropped down. Like I said, it's a 3-team race for that district title for 28-6A, and I'm sure Lee's going to look at that game and see what they can do when they play them again. See if they can get a victory and get that tiebreaker. So it's going to come, like I said, those out of who can get those wins from beating each other and so forth is going to determine who's going to win this district title.
Number 3, Alamo Heights, 14-1, 8-1 out of 5A 27 last week, the 4th team, so they moved up a slot.
Yeah, I don't think they've lost a district game, I believe.
Check it. Did it copy right?
I think they're still undefeated in district play.
Hold on 1 minute. Yeah, actually, you're correct.
Yeah.
So that I think what that copied the lead result there. 12-0-3, 9-0 in district here for that here.
So yeah, Alamo Heights is just, like I said, they're cruising through 27-5A. Like I said, that the key matchup was against Jefferson and also MacArthur.
MacArthur, yeah.
They're able to take care of business there, and I just don't see anybody challenging to them in 27-5A, and it should no problem winning that district title.
Although Jefferson's hanging in there, and I know they were on your knocking on the door coming in, but they've had a good year. Not to take away from the Mustangs, but yeah, Alamo Heights is probably on a different level. Number 2, the Lady Rangers from Smithson Valley. I know we've kind of talked a little bit about their district already, but 14-0, 6-0 on the year.
Yeah, they've been cruising. Big test, like I said, big win over Canyon, or big win over Bernie Champion. But and this next game tomorrow night against Piper could determine the district title. Now Piper is going to Smithson Valley, which is a tough place to play. Like I said, Coach Atkins hasn't been playing well down there at Smithson Valley. So this is gonna be if you have nothing to do Friday night besides watching our Bracketology, head out to Smithson Valley. Like I said, this is gonna be a great game. Like I said, we have a team that's heavily favored especially from last year, and they're playing like an upstart team that's ready to make some noise in this region.
And then the number 1 team, the Lady Red Raiders from Taft, 12-0, 8-0. When I was looking at the Max Preps, they are also ranked as far as for the San Antonio area, the number 1 team. I will say this week they play at Brendan tomorrow night, and then O'Connor on Tuesday. So they'll be tested this week, as far as within district here, for that here.
Yeah, they're running the gauntlet early on like they did in the first round, and they're able to get a win over Brennan, a tight win over O'Connor. I honestly feel if they win these 2 games, they pretty much will lock into the district title, and I'm sure I have a feeling they're going to have a deep run in the playoffs. Don't be surprised. Like I said, they can get into that regional tournament coming up in April.
And I had that reverse. They play Brennan at home and then at O'Connor, and that's why that O'Connor may be at Ferris for the here. Although TAPPS just a mile or 2 down south from there, anyways. So from there, so looking at on the boys' side here, excuse me. Only 2 teams dropped out. The Steel Knights, 8-5, 2-1 on the year, and TMI had a bad loss last night. Lost 7-0, 17-4, 10-2 on the season. They're still in the playoffs. Just missed the Johnson Jaguar boys, Clemens, Kennedy, TMI, and Warren from here. Anything that you want to mention? Only 1 team that was knocked out, which was TMI. The others were non-ranked for that here. And like I said here, I know we talked a little bit about Warren. They're always very solid, here on the north side. But to me, I think Kennedy is kind of the surprise, right?
Yeah, they have actually a big game coming up. They got Lavernia. Like I said, they were able to knock off Memorial, and they have a big game versus Lavernia. If they can beat Lavernia, they'll take control of 27-4A for the district race. TMI, like I said, I know they had a bad loss with Brownsville St. Joseph, but like I said, I think this will be able to do well in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Another team coming up is Clemens. Clemens is, kind of slow, sort of trying to get a hold.
They started out real slow, slow, especially for Clemens.
but now they're kind of turning it up. I know they had a tie this past week, but like I said, I think they're still one of the favorites besides them, and maybe, like I said, the Broncos for that district title for 27-6A. And then Johnson, like I said, they had a tie with Lee. Like I said, it's a good result there. So you keep an eye on them. Like I said, they're one of the teams that could cause some some upsets, and against Lee or Brandeis or even and also Reagan. So like I said, they're probably one of the top, probably the fourth best team in that district right now.
So at 15, Antonian again for that here, 17-6-4, 6-4 in district. Antonian doesn't like me today. Trying to figure out what I did wrong.
Good season for the Apaches as far as
no,
to finish.
Yeah, that is right for Antonian. 17, 6-4 and 6-4. Yeah. So I must.
So able to get in the playoffs. Good season. Like, we'll see what they can do. I know last year I had high hopes for them last year because they really started strong, but those little two setbacks against Central Catholic kind of derailed them a little bit. So we'll see. I know they were in a tougher district this year with those Houston teams. So, like I said, they're battle tested, and we'll see if they can surprise some teams and go deep into the TAPPS playoffs.
And we'll talk about it in the when we go over the standings real quick. But yeah, the three Houston schools, St. Thomas, St. Prius, and the Village schools, all very solid. And and I think that's when we get to Central Catholic here, I think that's what makes their run even more impressive. Is this was a deep and somewhat even district that they were in for that here. Bernie Champion, the Chargers at number 14, 7-1-3, 4-1-1 in district. Last week they were 13th, so they slipped one.
Yeah, they had one loss, but like I said, they're still in the race for 26-5A. Like I said, I think eventually I think they're going to end up getting a playoff spot. We'll see how they adjust in the second round when they face Spencer Valley and Piper, and see if they can get a couple wins there, try to move up their seeding for the playoffs, and also maybe even contend for the district title. Like I said, contend again for the district title.
13 Harlandale. I know last night they got showed up a little bit. 16-1-1, 5-1 in district. Was it a 6-0 loss or 7-0 loss last night?
7-0
Southwest.
Yeah, that was the key.
6-0 at half, right?
Yeah, this was the key game from last night to see if Harlandale was for real. This was going to be their true test against Southwest. Where they're going to be the team that finally knocks off Southwest out of the kind of 28-5A supremacy, and that didn't happen. Southwest flexed their muscle and ended up winning 7-0. So, like I said, they dropped down here. Like I said, Harlandale still, like I said, still in second place. Maybe they'll learn from that loss. When they play again, get them on the reverse. Like I said, as long as they can maintain winning games in that district, stay one game behind Southwest, that last game could determine, like I said, the district title.
Number 12, Lavernia, last week at 8, slipped here. They had a loss. I know you mentioned it, 14-2-2, 2-1 in district.
Yeah, they had a loss with Memorial, which was a little surprising there. That they lost 3-2. But I think, like I said, they have another key game coming up, which is a team that's ahead of them, which is Kennedy. And so that could determine, as far as the district race, like I said, 27-4A is a three-team race for that district title.
Coach Connor, welcome.
Gents, how are you?
Doing well. You had a busy day, or at least a busy, productive afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great day, great evening, and it's a great way to wrap it up with you guys here today. So thanks for having me.
Oh, no worries. Thanks for hopping on. And like I said here, look forward to if we get time with you tomorrow. If not, I understand something may have came up school-wise that obviously takes a little bit more priority than our bracketology. So
I wouldn't put it that way. It's just a tough,
I would.
Tough balance.
It's our first one where it'll be rough version. We'll study it up a little bit better next year.
It's good. Hey, now that I'm here, we got to start all over. Let's go back to the beginning. We got to start all over. So, all right, you guys continue. I don't want to interrupt the flow. Go ahead.
11 Smithson Valley, 11-5-1, 6-0 in district. Last week not ranked here for the hair, but your thoughts on the Lady Rangers? The Rangers getting some love from Rafa this week here, Rafa.
Yeah, they've turned things around. They started out slow. They had some tough losses, but look at what they've done in district play. And like I said, they have another key game coming up Friday at Piper. And if they can win against Piper, like I said, they'll have full control of the District 28 5A. So kudos to the coaching staff there at Spencer Valley, kind of turning things around. But I think all those tough games has helped them. And look, you see that 6-0 district record. That was the whole point of playing those tough non-district teams to get them ready for district play.
Do you think maybe their slow start had to do with the new coach coming in late? Because I think new coach came in towards end of summer. Because AJ was training with them over at Stevens before she made the move over to Smithson Valley. You think that possibly played a little part into it, or no?
Maybe this learning the system of play. It might take a little adjustment, being a new coach. But I think also the non-district schedule they had, because I did see them play against Reagan, and Reagan really took it to them. They gave them a good punch in the chin there, but like I said, you take those lumps early on, and when you get into district play, this is the payoff right here. Playing a tough non-district schedule is going to get you prepared for all these district games.
Number 10, Memorial, the team you talked about that had the upset of Lavernia, 11-4-1, 3-1 in district. For that here last week, 14 with the victory up to 10.
Yeah, Memorials, like I said, I think that move down from 5A to 4A has really helped them. Like I said, the one loss is against Kennedy, but like I said, they're still in the mix for that District 27 4A title. Big win over Lavernia. Like I said, Lavernia's the favorite for 27 4A for boys. So like I said, they're still within striking distance. So when they play Kennedy again, if they can get that win against them and then knock off the Lavernia again, they can get that district title.
Number 9, Piper. We talked about Smithson Valley a little bit earlier. The big match tomorrow for that here. Last week, 15. And they moved up quite a bit this week. 13-2-3, 4-0-2 in district with 2 draws.
Yeah, Piper, just like the girls, they've been soaring up. Like I said, they're one of those upstart teams to keep an eye on. Don't take them lightly. Big game, probably the biggest game tomorrow, probably in their program is going to be tomorrow night against Spencer Valley. And if they can win that game, like I said, they have a really good shot at, trying to claim that District 26 5A title, which is, like I said, 26 5A is one of the most brutal districts of 5A here in Region 4. Like I said, not only have Bernie Champion, you have Canyon and Smithson Valley. So kudos to the Piper boys. They're doing a great job this year in year 2, first year varsity play. And like I said, they have a legitimate shot at trying to win that district title.
To me, the Bernie Champion Piper, because assuming Smithson Valley holds their lead here, right now, Piper's at 4-0-2, Bernie Champion's 4-1-1 in district. So if they do take the loss to Smithson Valley, just looking at their schedule here, Bernie Champion could actually pass them in the standings, for that here. So, but yeah, it's a 3-team race for that top slot. But if Smithson Valley does get the win, it could make it, the race for second to be able to host. Number 8, Central Catholic. To me, as we kind of discussed here earlier with Antonian, they ran away with Region 1, District 2, 9-1 in district, 13-4-1. For that here, they swept both matches against Antonian. They lost, I think, to one of the, I forget which Houston school it was on the road, but came back and defeated them, here in San Antonio. And like I said here, looking at their conference, only Tomball Concordia Lutheran had a losing record. Everybody else was above 500, even in district. So very deep district as far as for, out of a 6 teams, 5 or 5-5 or better along those lines. So to me, I thought it was a very impressive district play from them.
Yeah, Central Catholic's done, like I said, done well. That only one little setback they had in Houston, but they were able to clinch the district title this week. And you're gonna say, they got to be one of the favorites to go to Round Rock to win that, the TAPPS championship for 6A. So, like I said, they've been battle tested early on with non-district play games. I think they'll be ready to go to make a deep run, kind of make amends for what happened last year.
And then moving on to number 7, Brandeis, 7-1-1. Last week, the 4th team, last time we had it, 4th in the Power 15, 10-1-3 overall.
Yeah, Brandeis, like I said, they had a loss against Reagan. Reagan, big win for them, and it goes one setback for Brandeis. But like I said, they're still in striking distance for the 28 6A title. I think, like I said, the rematch versus Lee's coming up soon. I know that one ended up in a 0-0 tie. We'll see this time around. I think this game might be. I think the rematch might be at Northside, I believe, or maybe at Ferris. I'm not too sure, but if Brandeis can get that win against Lee, like I said, they'll be back in the title hunt.
Number 6, Reagan. Last week, number 9, 9-4-3, 5-1-2 in district out of 6A 28.
Yeah, Reagan, like I said, they were struggling for a while, but they've, like I said, I think that win over Brandeis was a big confidence booster for them, and I think that it's going to hopefully get them back on track. And like I said, they were one of the favorites for this district. They had, like I said, that one tough loss against Lee and a couple ties, but like I said, they're still within, like I said, striking distance. And like I said, that game against Lee, if they can get that back, they'll be back in it. And then if they could knock off Brandeis again in that second round, they could reclaim the district title again this year.
Number 5, Alamo Heights, 14-2, 9-0 in district. Last week's 6th up to 5 for it here. I know we talked about the Lady Mules being kind of dominant, kind of same scenario for the boys as well, right?
Yeah, but they've had some challenges. Some of those boys, the SASD teams haven't been rolling over. They've been challenged, like Edison and Jeff and Brack. They've given them a challenge, but they're not. It's not been easy for Alamo Heights, but it's getting them ready for playoff spots, because you need that type of resistance from a team to get you prepared for that. But like I said, Alamo Heights has done a great job so far, and I think more than likely, I think they're going to end up winning the district title.
Number 4, Bernie Greyhounds, 15-3-2, 5-0 in district. Last rankings 5th, moved up 1 to 4th.
Bernie, they've been flexing their muscle, like I said, the last few years. Congratulations to Coach Strong too, getting his 100th win. So hopefully he'll get his 3rd state title too this year. Big wins over Davenport, big wins over Wimberley. Like I said, they're going to run away with this district, and I don't see any 4A team in Region 4 that's going to challenge them. Like I said, they just have that pedigree, that technical style that's just a way above anybody else. Maybe some resistance if they get to the state tournament. Maybe like Salina or Palestine or Kilgore. Like we mentioned, like from the 50-50 podcast, we had talked about some of those teams. So we'll see. But like I said, Bernie, like I said, best team here, not only San Antonio for 4A.
In the Valley, you don't think anybody in the Valley?
I think the 2 teams might be as far as maybe giving them a game, might be Hidalgo. But I just, like I said, the last 2 years, Bernie's found a way to, take care of them. And the same thing with Progreso too. I don't know if Hidalgo had, like, those 2 teams have enough to knock them off this year.
Number 3, Southwest. They faced the test from Harlandale, 13-1, 6-0 in district. Kept their same ranking as 3rd as last week here. So held serve. Held serve as a heavyweight, which is not easy to do.
Yeah, I mean, that was the test. Last night was the test to see if they're going to continue their streak as far as their winning streak in 28-5A as far as supremacy, and they jumped out to a 6-0 lead at half. So I think they made a statement that say, hey, this district is still ours. Now, can they do that into the playoffs? Last year they got knocked off by Georgetown. Can Southwest, they do great in district play. Can you, if you're going to say you're the best team in 5A or in Region 4, you're going to have to show that, make it to the regional final and beyond. And you're going to have to show it this year. And like I said, with this, we'll see if this team has enough to make a deep run. But there's going to be some challenges coming up.
Number 2, Harlan, 12-2-1, 9-0, running away with district, 6A 29. They've opened up a pretty big gap already. If I'm remembering my standings right here, already over there. Yeah, so they've got a 2.5, 3 game lead over Warren and O'Connor.
What are you going to say about Harlan? What they've done the last 2 years. Also, congratulations to Coach Altiano, win 250 for his career. Like I said, they should clinch the district title pretty soon. I just don't see anybody from 29 6A challenge. I know they had a couple rough games, but they were able to take care of business. The issue, not the issue, but when they get in the playoffs, will they see any resistance from a team from the Valley, like Los Fresnos? So Fresnos is looking good right now in the Valley. They could, that could be a tough matchup for them. Same thing with Brownsville Rivera. We'll see, maybe a couple of the Laredo teams too. So we'll see what comes up, for them come in March. And
then the number 1, the Lee Volunteers, 14-0-2, 7-0-2. Number 1 last power rates, number 1 this time here. Just how close is it between Harlan and them? I know Harlan's got the 2 losses, but undefeated in district. Where Lee's got the 2 draws in district.
It's close, but like I said, if you look at compare 28-6A for boys and compare to 29-6A, 28-6A is a little bit deeper as far as as far as quality teams and so forth, as far as competition. Like I said, those two draws against Brandeis and also Johnson, and like I said, those are 2 teams that are going to be playoff bound. So we'll see what they do in this second round. Can they maintain this lead? And the big game coming up soon is going to be Brandeis and Lee, and that's Lee has to go to Brandeis, is where it's Northside or Ferris. If they can win that game, I think they got one foot into that district title.
Coach, any thoughts on Rafa's rankings? Any egg in the face? Any hey, what are you doing? Type of rankings.
I tell them that every day. What are you talking about? So, yeah, no, I mean, it's you're looking at it from the the greater San Antonio area. Not a lot to argue there, right? I mean, yeah, you could be saying it's like, hey, maybe one school could be a couple of notches higher, another school maybe a couple of notches lower, but we're in most cases we're barely about halfway point or at the halfway point starting round 2 of district play. So still a lot of soccer to be played, So from that front, it's like it's TBD. You're starting to have in some districts teams are clearly they're either top heavy or one team is starting to pull away from the pack, but there's still going to be some very interesting races along the way. So a lot of soccer to be played and some more rankings, some more ratings to be had, of course.
So we're going to go over the standings, for here, and I do want to get Coach Cano's view of the TAPPS here for here, especially in the area for it here. So as we've already kind of hinted at, Central Catholic, ran away with Region 1 D2 boys, where all the teams make the playoffs, which is crazy, but for that here for seeding purposes. I think what kind of stood out to me was St. Thomas. Was down here in the 5th, and their late season push pushed them up to the to the 3rd seed here, and pushed down St. Prius and the Village School for that here, which I thought was kind of interesting here. But anything stand out to you either Coach Gano or Rafa from Region 1 D2?
No, I think from my perspective here, it's very much, I guess you could say, to a certain extent, you could say, I don't want to say status quo, but yeah, I mean, Central Catholic on top, Antonian a close second. So an interesting district, right? In terms of you got four Houston schools, Greater Houston schools, and then 2 San Antonio schools, which lends itself to an interesting travel dynamic. But it is interesting to see the 2 San Antonio schools with Central Catholic, who appears to be kind of, in many cases, kind of like Lee, where we saw them a few years ago, where they're returning to their form that they've been known for over the last 5 years. So this makes perfect sense.
Region 2 D4, Brownsville St. Joseph, just they were pretty dominant. When you looked at the records here, 17-6-1, 11-1, TMI 17-4, 10-2, but they lost big last night to Brownsville. St. Joseph, unfortunately, I think it was 7-0, 6-0, something along those lines. San Antonio Christian ended up getting the 3rd seed, and Laredo St. Augustine 6-6. Unfortunately, Coach, your St. Mary Hall, fell one game out from the playoffs, and then you had St. Anthony and then Victoria St. Joseph round out here. But the top 2, I think, were pretty dominant, and then 3, 4, 5, like I said here, a few breaks, and maybe St. Mary's makes the playoffs.
Yeah, tough district, especially St. Joseph's. I know they got like I said, being known for the Valley teams, they got a good program down there. Now, can they equate that into the playoffs? Get to Round Rock. We'll see. TMI's been there. Like I said, they've been a former state champ, so they know what it takes to get there. And so we'll see how it goes. This coming weeks.
And then the Region 3, District 4. New Braunfels Christian Academy ended up winning their little playoff. They beat Corpus Christi and Cardinal Word. The Atonement in Geneva. Geneva actually moved up ahead of Corpus Christi St. John Paul II here and finished 4th here to clinch the playoff spots here. To me, I think the one that stands out is JP2 on the men's side. At least from the time that we've been doing, they've always been pretty competitive and in the I want to say most years in the playoffs, but this year definitely a down year for them.
Yeah.
Big season, a big season, a big push for Atonement. You saw Atonement and Geneva; they had big turnaround seasons from a year ago, and Coach Carlos Miranda over at Atonement boys, he's got them on the right track, and the girls too, the Atonement girls as well.
Right, they make the playoffs.
Yeah, Geneva making a big push, and this is an interesting district because Rafa may recall. So a couple of weeks back on the 50-50 podcast, when we had Coach Jeremy Shannon on from Bernie High School, Rafa posed the question on that about how he felt. The question came up really about playing one round of district play for seeding and then playing a district tournament, right? And that's what this district did on both sides, which kind of made things interesting. How things played out. So kudos to them for being able to the best of my knowledge, this may be the first San Antonio district in recent memory that's done that format. Because typically you've seen that outside of San Antonio, but not in San Antonio. So kudos to them for trying to go forward with that.
Is that something that you could see TAPPS moving forward on, or is this just kind of one-off, based on the region and district?
Yeah, no, TAPPS. I don't see them ever require districts to do that. TAPPS has they like to operate, and kudos to them. They like to operate from the standpoint of, hey, there are certain criteria that we're going to require that you need, but in terms of competition, as far as district bylaws, district playing format, they let the districts and the district executive committees decide that. So I see that staying the same. How if any other districts want to decide to go forward with that, that's to be determined.
Moving on to the ladies' side here, Region 1, District 2, St. Agnes 16-6, 10-1, Antonian 21-3-3, 10-2. St. Prius, Incarnate Word, is the fourth seed. Tumble, and then Incarnate Word from Houston, and then the Village schools here. But Antonian and Incarnate Word, both solid seasons. 500, overall for the Shamrocks, and then Antonian Patchies. We're hoping probably for a deep run, Rafa.
Yeah, I think recently Tony got a big win over the weekend. Hopefully that'll get some momentum going into the playoffs. Like I said, you look at St. Agnes. They might be one of the favorites to come and get to Round Rock. But the question is, can they beat some of those Dallas area teams? And those Dallas area teams for TAPPS have been the dominant force. And they've won the last few state titles. And could this be the time that we get a San Antonio or a Houston team that wins the title?
Yeah, all roads in Class 6A here, Division 1, they all lead through some way, in some way, shape, or form through Dallas Ursuline Academy, right? That's the
yes.
You're talking
about the number one seed, yeah.
The winningest program in all of high school sports in the nation. So that's saying a lot.
Looking at Region 2, 15-4 for San Antonio Christian Lions, 10-0 in district. TMI 7-3. St. Mary's 6-4 with the win today here. St. Anthony 5-5, and two Victoria and Laredo St. Augustine. Tough seasons for them here, but this was a pretty even race here outside of San Antonio Christian. For Region 2, Division 4.
Yeah, tough. I know Coach knows will tell me this is a tough district, but I think all teams are battle tested and ready to go. So either do some damage and in the playoffs, coming this coming week. And I know Coach mentioned to me about so they're gonna have to travel out of town for their matchup. Like I said, hopefully, like I said, they can go out there, get the W, and go on to the next round.
Coach, the last year it was Austin schools. This year, it's the Victoria Laredo schools here. Was this just a tougher region altogether, or kind of fairly even compared to last year's district with the Austin schools to this year?
Now, I think on paper you would think that the district that we were in last year, right, with four San Antonio schools, 4 Austin schools, on paper it was tougher, and it's not taking anything away from last year's district, because conversations that I had with Rafa is what we found out, what the state found out last year, was that district, which was I believe was 3, I think it was 3, I want to say 3-5A, it ended up being the strongest district. It proved itself to be the strongest district in the state over the course of the playoffs. This year, obviously to be determined, but this year, like I said, on paper, that Austin district would appear to be stronger, and it was strong. But this one was just from the travel to just overcoming just a lot of things in terms of the format of district play, how and when you started district play. It was a lot of. I'll give you an example. So the match we played today versus Victoria St. Joseph. We played them. This was our 4th attempt at rescheduling them for a number of reasons, dealing with the ice storm, logistics. But we played them in our first go round in district play back on December 6th. So almost 2.5 months later before we get to see them again. So things like that is what made this district just made it tough. But yeah, I think Rafa's right. This is a district that was much tougher. I think and overall it shows, but yeah, I mean, we played an exceptionally tough non-district schedule, and and I think some of the other schools, you look at Saks played a pretty tough non-district schedule as well, right? They test themselves as well. So kudos to them as district champions, rightfully so. But looking forward to what all 4 teams in this district can hopefully do in the playoffs.
Moving to Region 3 D4, JP2 Guardians won. Geneva ended up being 2 as a strong second. New Braunfels Christian solid third, and the Atonement came through for the 4th for the playoffs. Holy Cross, San Marcos Academy, and Corpus Christi, St. John Paul II here. But to me, I know Geneva pushed JP2 looking at their scores a little bit. Obviously, I didn't get to see the games, but score-wise, it wasn't just a walk in the park for JP2.
They got challenged this year. Like I said, I know Coach mentioned that said about keeping on Geneva and also even New Braunfels Christian. They were going to give St. Paul John Paul II a challenge this year, and then you can just look at the the district records. They're very close. And this was not a gimme district, but like I said, John Paul II, I knew they were going to kind of find a way to get through this, and like I said, they're probably one of the favorites to go back to defend their state title.
Moving on to UIL here real quick here. Bernie out of 4A 26, 15-3-2, 5-0 in District 26. Davenport and Fredericksburg 3-1-1 in District. Wimberley to me is kind of the surprise at 3-3, because they had started the season off so well. Looking at here, Wimberley plays Canyon Lake on the 21st. Bernie gets Canyon Lake and Fredericksburg, so it'd be interesting if Fredericksburg can kind of step up, and Davenport gets Northern Oaks and Bandera. So Davenport obviously should be able to handle those two fairly comfortable. But your thoughts on how the playoffs are shaping up out of the 26 boys?
I think what you have here on the first four teams are probably going to end up being your playoff teams, unless Canyon Lake can make a run. They're going to have to knock off. It's going to be a tall task trying to knock off Bernie, but if they could knock off Davenport, Fredericksburg, and Wimberley, they can get back into the playoff race.
Yeah, I would say that the kind of surprise here, if you you could flip flop them, right, is Canyon Lake and Fredericksburg. They're sitting there. They're sitting there with a strong, solid record, right, and obviously keeping your eye on Davenport. And Bernie is Bernie. We've talked about that already with Coach Strong, and we just got to look past that mustache that Coach Strong is rocking right now. But other than that, man, he's got him full steam ahead. I think he's figured out for lack of better words, they've figured out their battle rhythm, right, in terms of when they start kind of full steam, kind of peaking at the right time. They've kind of figured that out, and so they're. I think it's kind of Bernie and everyone else, but still some teams to keep your eye on, to include Comel, or to Davenport, I should say, that'll challenge. That's going to make Bernie work.
And then 4A 27, Kennedy, and this is I'm going to pick a bone with you. Kennedy, I know you said they're knocking on the door, 12-5-2, 4-0. Memorial ranked 10th, 3-1, which you mentioned that they lost to Kennedy, and Lavernia 2-1 in district here. So any reason why Kennedy didn't make it in over Memorial and Lavernia? Is it just the level of competition, kind of like Harlandale was?
Yeah, but the thing is, the key game is Kennedy's got that game against Lavernia coming up. That's the game. If they can win that game, that's tomorrow night. If they can win that game, like I said, don't be surprised you see them in the top 15.
That is at Lavernia, right? Is that correct?
Yes,
am I reading Lavernia? Right? Yeah. Okay.
Which is a tough place to play. So I'm sure Lavernia, after that loss against Memorial, they're not going to take Kennedy lightly. I think they'll be ready to go, and it's going to be a tough task for Kennedy to get that win there at Lavernia.
So just had to ask when I was putting together the standings. I was like, something's wrong here. Looking at 28 boys, Floresville 4-0, Hondo 3-1. Pleasanton, congratulations to Pearsall. The Mavericks got their first win over Poteet for that here in a 3-2 thriller. Uvalde's kind of stepping up here. I know you mentioned Pleasanton's kind of the favorite here, but they're stumbling out of the gates here, and Hondo's having a good second year program as far as on the boys' side here for that here. But Floresville's got a pretty decent lead here, with at least making the playoffs.
Yeah, Floresville, I think last year, I think playing in that district with Southwest, I think it's prepared them for this, and they'll drop down to 4As. Like I said, this is paying off for them, so they're going to be the favorite. Like I said, they got a tough matchup with Hondo and at Uvalde. And I think if they can get those two wins, they'll pretty much have the control of that district. the district race for the title. Pleasanton, like I said, they got Poteet. They should have no problem winning that at Poteet. Hondo, like I said, Hondo wants to make a statement, is go out there and get a win. If they can knock off Florizo for a second-year team to be in first place, it's a great confidence booster for them. So, and then keep an eye on Uvalde. The boys, even though the record doesn't look good, but like I said, they played a lot of tough non-district teams, and like I said, now they're trying to make their little move there into the top 4.
Is that record correct? So Pearsall has only played district games so far this season?
Yes.
Is that all?
Yeah, we almost pulled them from the thing because we didn't think that they were playing.
Yeah.
So they did that for both the boys and the girls. The girls, unfortunately, their records not.
Yeah, we just found that kind of odd that they didn't play any non-district games.
Yeah.
And there was no whispers of any scrimmages or anything along those lines here. But yeah, it's they popped up. We waited till district played before we were going to remove them, and then it was January, right? I think it was in January when they started playing, and we're like, okay, we'll give it a shot. So, but yeah, no, they got the first win against Poteet here, so congratulations.
All right, congratulations.
For the ladies, 4A 26, Bernie, Wimberley, Davenport, all close, Canyon Lake, and then probably a gap between Northern Oaks, Fredericksburg, and Bandera.
Yeah. So what do you think, Coach, on this one for this?
Yeah,
district?
this one, I think this when it's all said and done, this is going to be like a Royal Rumble right here. This one, I mean, it's Bernie just recently got a big win over Wimberley at a very good, very strong, very resilient Wimberley squad that I've seen up close and personal. Coach Nichols' squad. It's his first year at Wimberley after leaving Smithson Valley, and Davenport is looking strong. I'm drawing a blank on her first name right now. Riley, I believe. Riley Reinsdorf out of Davenport. She's been phenomenal for them. And Canyon Lake is they're figuring things out. And they're a strong group. But I think Canyon Lake is not a team that has kind of hit quite their peak yet. But I don't know if anybody really has in this district yet. So I think before it's all said and done, I mean, even Fredericksburg. You look at Fredericksburg, that is a team that. Yeah, they've had a hard time this season, but they're a fun group to watch, and they're a talented group, and they've just been unlucky in multiple matches, and I've seen them up close as well. So yeah, this is a very fun district.
The rough part for Canyon Lake, they play Bernie and Wimberley this week. So Bernie tomorrow, Wimberley. Now they both are at home there in Canyon Lake. So. But yeah, rough week, for the Hawks here, for that here. Anything you got, Rafa, before we move on?
Yeah, with Bernie, like I said, big wins over Wimberley and Davenport. It was like the mirror image of last year. It was a battle between those 3 teams. Well, you can even add Canyon Lake in the mix for a little bit. The surprises, Coach was at Fredericksburg down at 6. I expect them to be challenging for that last spot of the playoffs, and maybe they can turn things around in the second half, of district play and try to sneak in.
Well, Bandera and Bernie, so they should be able to beat Bandera, but that second match for this week's a little bit tough here. District 27, Kennedy, 4-0 in district, Lavernia 3-0-1, Gonzales, SA Young Women Leadership, and Memorial. So the spots outside of the top 2, I think, between Gonzales, Young Women's Leadership, Memorial, and even Yoakum, probably pull a name out of a hat for this one.
Yeah, the big game is this Friday, Kennedy and Lavernia. That's going to determine who's going to take the district title. I was a little surprised that Lavernia had a tie against Gonzales. And that's a little setback. That's a setback for them, but we'll see if they can bounce back. And win this game coming up. Kennedy, like I said, if they can knock off Lavernia, they'll have control of this for the district race.
Gonzales is don't rule them out yet. They can play. They can play. We've seen them up close. They've been in a lot of very close a lot of close battles that have just, a lot of 1-0s that have not gone their way, or 2-1s. They've been in a lot of those, but they can play. They're a talented group. They'll have another say in here at some point before it's all said and done.
28 for 4A, Pleasanton, 4-0-1, Uvalde, Floresville, Somerset, Hondo, Poteet, and Pearsall. And like I said here, if you don't look up at the goal difference for Pearsall, I'll just leave it at that for that here. But Pleasanton, Uvalde, Floresville, top three that's going to run away with it.
Yeah, it was a 3-horse race. Even though like Uvalde had a really great season last year, I know they had lost to some from the graduation, so I know it's going to be a battle between those three schools. Like I said, they're winning like a half a game against Pleasanton. So we'll see on the second round of play what kind of results. Does Uvalde make that move like they did last year and take control of the district race, or is it this year for Pleasanton, or could the surprise be Floresville? Floresville's within striking distance. They had an upset a couple years ago against Jefferson, a highly Jefferson girls team that was, really, they were the heavy favorite, So, and I think they've built upon that this last couple of years. So, they've really turned around that program.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if there's any standout matches.
Yeah, the 21st, Floresville at Uvalde.
At
That's going to
Uvalde.
be key. Yeah, that'll be a key game there.
Mm-hmm.
Pleasanton should have no problem taking care of Poteet.
Yeah. Moving to 5A here, Smithson Valley 14-0, 6-0, Piper 6-0 in District, 13-2. The Cougarettes 4-2. And then I think probably a surprise if you're looking at records historically, Bernie Champion, Kerrville, Tivy, both 2-3-1 in District.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Go ahead,
I'm
Coach.
sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay,
No,
Coach.
go ahead, Rafa. Go ahead.
I was going to say, if you look, Bernie Champion, for what they went through last year to finally, to knock off Dripping Springs in that regional final and to get to the state tournament. That's surprising. Like I said, I had very high hopes for them to, to be the dominant team. Like I said, it was going to be between them and Simpson Valley. It's kind of been disappointing for them. Could it be, because of, injuries, or, did they lose a lot, in players from graduation? But I think, like I said, in this second round of play, I think they can get it together. They're still a dangerous team. They proved that last year, and if they have the experience, if they can get it together, they can move up from that 4th spot and get into the top, and get to that 2nd spot, quite easily. So
You think?
I think they can make a run if they, you cannot take them lightly. And I think some of the losses
I'm not taking them lightly, but I think Piper and Smithson Valley, at least
those were close losses. Those were close losses. So, like I said, it could be injuries. We don't know. And if they get everybody back, kind of like what happened last year, I think when they got healthy, that's when they really turned it on. And that's something that they need to keep an eye on. But like I said, the game of the week is going to be Piper at Smithson Valley. That's
both on the boys and the girls side. Yeah.
And yeah. Now, can the Piper girls, like I said, they have a tall task going to Smithson Valley. This could be one of that key game that takes your program to that next level, and this is the opportunity for them. They have nothing to lose, and that's a dangerous thing. They have nothing to lose because Smithson Valley is the favorite for this game, and you have a team going in with nothing to lose. Things can happen, so it's going to be a great game. Good luck to both teams tomorrow. And you have a chance. Head out there. It's going to be a really exciting game.
Moving to 27, 5A 27, Alamo Heights 9-0, Jefferson 8-1, MacArthur 6-2, Edison 6-3, and then Highland, Burbank, and Sam Houston through here. I guess Alamo Heights, Jefferson through. That's the big one. Alamo Heights.
Well, even that Edison
well.
game too. They can't take Edison lightly. But like I said, they've just been cruising through that district. And like I said, they're more like, I think they can get these 2 wins. That they're more likely to have a lock on the district title. And then the other, like I said, it's as far as the second seed is going to come down to Jefferson, Mac, and Edison.
Moving on to 28 Southwest, 5-0-1. They had the draw. Medina Valley, as you mentioned during the Power 15s, right there at 5-1 in district. Harlandale, even for the ladies, is having a respectable year, 3-2-1 in district. Southwest Legacy, 2-1-3. South Sands still in it, as well as McCollum at 2-3. And then I guess probably the odd result of the years is you mentioned Southside drew Southwest for that here, Sutton in 7th at 1-6-1 in the district here, but so that one seems a little bit odd. And then for play, if we play here, what Medina Valley at South San, and so
yeah, that game against the Southside versus the Southwest, that was a 0-0 draw, and that was a surprise there. I thought they would kind of pour it on Southside, but kudos to them for getting that tie, and that just allowed Medina Valley to really kind of get back in, even though they had a close loss to them. And the next game is going to be at Medina Valley, and Medina Valley could finally knock off Southwest, for that district title. I'm sure they'll make whatever adjustments they need to make in that second game, and it's a possibility they could leapfrog them and take control of that district lead. Harlandale, I think Harlandale will make the playoffs. I think they end up becoming the 3rd seed, and I think it's gonna be a dogfight for that 4th spot between McCollum, South San, and Legacy.
And then moving to the boys for 5A26, Smithson Valley 6-0, Piper 4-0-2, Bernie Champion 4-1-1, Como Canyon 3-3, Kerrville Tivy 2-3-1. I think like your rankings, the top 5 here, I think Smithson Valley is probably at least early, warming up in the districts here, but just like your rankings on this here, it seems like it's a pretty even match.
Kudos to Smithson Valley. Like I mentioned, they started the year rough, but things have turned around, and it shows there on their district record. And like I said, they have a key game. Same thing, Friday night with the Piper boys, and Piper boys can make a statement here too. They can get a win, get back into the district title race. Bernie Champion, I think they struggled on early too, but they've come back to form. Like I said, they're still a dangerous team. That, like I said, they're a game behind Piper. The Canyon Cougars, I think it's going to come down to the Canyon Cougars and Kerrville Tivy for that last 4th spot. But I'm going to give the little edge over the Canyon. I think they have enough to get that last playoff spot.
Yeah, with Smithson Valley, I would say the one thing to keep in mind is they started slow. Maybe it was a little bit of a struggle by their standards, right? But with Heather Boss there, she's going to have them ready to go. She's, it's a little slower. They played a tough schedule as well, but they'll be fine. They're going to be fine. I think here the school I really want to recognize, the program I want to recognize that's made a big leap from last year, because you've kind of scratched your head. It's like, hey, how come they haven't performed better over the last few years? And they've made a big leap forward this year has been Bernie Champion. So kudos to them. And Canyon, New Braunfels Canyon, they have phenomenal goalkeeper in Nico Sellers. They're going to be in matches. We posted that probably about a week ago or so, is that when just by virtue of having him in goal, they're going to be in matches. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to always go their way, but he's a phenomenal keeper. That back line does well, but he's going to keep them in matches for sure. So they'll make things interesting in this district.
Yeah, I think with low scoring games, I think they have an advantage with them, especially with him and the goal. Nico being in between the pipes. So they're still a very dangerous team, and maybe Canyon can make a move here, try to get up, try to get into the top 2. Playoff scene is going to be key on this, especially because they're going to have to run into the teams from 25-5A, which you're looking at like teams like a Cedar Park and Liberty Hill and so forth.
Right.
And then moving to 27 boys 5A, Alamo Heights 9-0, Edison, Brackenridge, Jefferson, and then and then I guess MacArthur, Burbank, and Lanier, kind of on the outside looking in. But as we discussed through the Power 15, Alamo Heights. They're getting a little bit of push from Edison, Bracken, Jefferson, but still pretty solid.
Yeah, Alamo Heights is like I said, they had a tough non-district schedule. They got a good, they won a tournament in Corpus, and like I said, it's not been a gimme in this district for them. But they've had some tight games, but they're able, had some quality wins. And kudos to Edison. I think what Edison, I think what turned around for their program was that win against Davenport when they were down 3-0. They're at the South when I went to that Southwest showcase, and they've done well into the district play. Brack, same thing. They've done well. They had a big win against MacArthur in the first game. Jeff too. They're in contention. So you got 14. You got 4 teams that can finish in that second spot. Little one that's underachieving is MacArthur. I think that dropped down from 6A to 5A. I would think they would have been into the top 4. In contending for this. For a playoff spot. But at 4-4, that's a little surprising that they're right now sitting at 5th.
Hey, Rafa, are you able to take over or no?
I can take over
because I got to go pick up AJ in about 3 minutes. So
okay.
He's got the scrimmage against Steve's Premier Boys right now. Be out at 9. 28 boys, Harlandale.
So here on the District 28 of 5A. We have Harlandale here. Here. I can control the size here, right here?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. Yeah. So here with District 28, 5A, like I said, we have actually Southwest is in first place. They had a win last night, so they're at 7-0. So now knocked off Harlandale. Third place comes to San Antonio Legacy, and then we have a surprise is Eagle Pass CC win. So they have a good opportunity to get to that 4th spot and get into the playoffs. Then you have round out with Medina Valley, which I'm kind of a little disappointed with them. I thought they would be in contention as well. Yeah. And then the rest is like a Southside, and McCollum. Coach, what do you think about this, especially last night, the big win for Southwest over Harlandale?
Yeah, I think you see a small of disparity in terms of just the district games played, right? You look at for example, Harlandale, and then you got some schools in here with 4 games, so a couple of games in hand, a couple of games to make up. Sometimes that worries me just because it's like, hey, they start making those up in a tight window, right? So something to keep in mind. But yeah, no, I think this district is, I think when it's all said and done, you'll have Southwest Harlandale and their Southwest Legacy will maybe have something to say, but I think this will ultimately be Southwest.
Yeah, like I said, I think they proved a lot last night. Harlandale's going to kind of get back to the drawing board to see when they play them again at Southwest, which is a tall task to play there at the Dragon Stadium, and we'll see what adjustments they can make and see stay within 1 game because they can still get a district title with a win over at their place. And maybe even get at that top seed going to the playoffs. So and like I said, you look at the schedule here, Harlandale, their rivalry game versus McCollum, and then they have at Southside, which is, like I said, it would be a tough draw there. Southside's got a good team. Southwest, their rivalry game against Legacy, and then a key game against tomorrow, and then a key game tomorrow next week with Eagle Pass CC win. And like I said, CC wins. Like I said, they're not slouched, and they could surprise a couple teams here, and especially they're in that 4th spot.
They can separate themselves with that win tomorrow. If they can take down Medina Valley, they can start to separate themselves into that top 4 from everybody else. Yeah,
and then Medina Valley, like I said, this is the key. If they can get that game win on Saturday, that'll help them, like I said, stay in contention because, like I said, they have a winnable game next year against South San. So the next series we're going to look at is the District 27 6A, which has kind of been disappointing this year. A lot of the teams have been starting off slow. One team I had really high hopes was New Braunfels. I thought they were going to have a really lock on this district, and I think this is like a wide open. It's been a wide open race with these 4 teams. But so far we have Clemens right now.
Tough district to figure out. I think that, flip a coin. I don't think if anybody tells you they know exactly how this is going to, and they just started district play in this,
Mhm.
right? So, so yeah, so they, they've got a ways to go. They're going to play what 10 matches, so they're literally what maybe 30% of the way through.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think anybody tells you in this one they're going to know what order they're in. Yeah, I think they're lying to you. So this might be one of the um trickiest districts to try to figure out.
Yeah, because I know in the beginning of the season, me and Harry talked about it. Like we, kind of our favorite was the Brothels, and then I think Clemens would be kind of like a contender against them, and then maybe Steele, and then it was a toss up with East Central, Judson, and San Marcos. But each team still, even though East Central and San Marcos are 0-2-1, they're still within range of getting that fourth spot, and being in
Yeah.
a 10-team district, in the 10-game district, you have opportunities to kind of sneak in, knock off some teams ahead of you, and get
Right.
that fourth spot. And if you're looking ahead of the schedule, like I said, we have Steele at Judson. That's a key game there. Can Judson leapfrog them into the district rankings, and then Steele's got Clemens. That's another. So Steele has a tough next two games. New Braunfels should win that game again at San Marcos, but San Marcos did have a tie against Clemens, and which was one of the surprises there. And then another tough one, with Judson. Judson, like I said, they have Steele and New Braunfels. They can make a move there. San Marcos can get, if they can knock off New Braunfels and get a win at East Central, they can get back into the playoff hunt. So all these games are really key because one game can get you back into the playoffs.
Yeah. Right.
So the next district we're going to look at is District 28 6A. Currently, we have Lee in first place at 7-0-2. But right behind them, we have the Brandeis Broncos. And then third place, we have Reagan and then Johnson. So what do you think about this district so far? Has kind of planned out or still? Sorry about that, Coach. I don't know, little technical.
There you are.
The Wi-Fi kind of cut off. Sorry, as I'm here in Killeen. So.
Yeah, it froze. It froze
froze.
you completely, and then I couldn't move, but I got no audio. So okay, there we go.
So what do you think so far
asking-
with the district player here?
Yeah, I mean, this is a behemoth. We know this, right? This has been arguably the toughest district in the area for, I don't know, the better half of 5 years at least. I think here it's an interesting one from the standpoint of the top, because you can make one of two arguments in this one. You can obviously Lee is still undefeated, so you can make the argument that they've returned, they've arrived, whatever you want to call it, and then the next three are right on their heels, right? Um, but then it's this kind of vicious cycle of Brandeis draws with Lee. So, but then Reagan, right? Reagan just definitively beats Brandeis. So how are Reagan's still, I think Reagan's getting healthy. So it's kind of Johnson. You don't entirely quite know where they're at. They're a talented group. They're going to have a say. You just don't know quite where they're at yet. You kind of have, a little bit more of what you have in Lee and Brandeis. But yeah, this is gonna. I think this one's. You got the Ian's Cup matchup coming up soon as well. Brandeis and Lee are gonna go at it again. It's just there's just so many compelling matchups here. So I think this is one where the styles, forget about records. It's just the styles make the matchups in these. And it's just, you can make the argument that Brandeis matches up exceptionally well with Lee. Reagan matches up exceptionally well with Brandeis. and then Johnson is trying to figure out their way in the middle of all of that. So tough district to call so far, way too early.
Yeah, the one thing about this, just like I said, I did do the Lee Brandeis game. I think the one thing I got out of that game, Lee really fixed a lot of things that had problems what they had last year. They have excellent goalkeeping. They have a lot better defense this year.
Right.
The finishing could have, for that game should have been. They did miss a PK in that game, and it was one of the worst PKs I've seen. Just he didn't take it. I guess he tried to do like a Sergio Ramos type of deal. You just got to shoot it in, and that could have been a difference maker there. They could have kind of pulled away a little bit. Because like I said, they're a half a game ahead. Brandeis. It's going to be interesting that in the rubber match coming up. Like I said, Johnson, they're against Churchill. I think they should take care of business there. And then again, also with Roosevelt, Reagan, they do have a bike this Friday, which would be good for them because that'd help them maybe, if there are, some injuries to get to heal up a game, and then a winnable game against Marshall. But the key game is going to be, Lee at Brandeis on the 18th, and that's going to be a barn burner of a game.
What is the time on that game? Have you seen the time on that game?
That one, I believe. Let me see that really quick. So it looks like it's a Saturday game.
Correct. I hadn't seen.
I think that game might be at Ferris, I believe. I'm gonna pull up the schedules really quick for that one. Let's see here. That game will be on. Let's see. 218 Saturday. That will be the girls play at 12. Actually, I'll take that back. It's a Saturday game it's at 12 p.m. at Gustafson Stadium.
Boys at 12?
Boys at 12.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. I mean, and you go back to the standings there's something to be said. You cannot forget in the middle of all of this is you have a, for lack of better words, a surging Churchill team that is starting to figure things out, right? They're kind of coming back. They're growing into their own, right? They're growing in confidence. And you have a Clark squad that is much, much better and way better than what their record indicates, right? So at some point you get the feeling that one or both of those programs are going to have a potential say with these other four in terms of a potential upset, right? That just shakes things up. So keep a close eye on Churchill and Clark as well, because I think they will shake things up in this district. It may only be on one day, one occasion, but I think they're gonna have a say in this district in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, they can be a spoiler for one of the top four teams. Like I remember the game against Reagan's game against Clark, the first go around at Ferris. I was at that game. Reagan really struggled that game against Clark. Clark held their own, and it took a PK for them to get a win on that game. But that was a good confidence booster for those Clark boys, because there was a big difference the level of play from last year to this year. I think it's kudos to their coach, to really kind of turn things around there. Like I said, they're on the upside, and they could surprise a couple of teams here. Can't take them lightly here. And then in the second round of the district play, as you can see, like I said, they have Marshall coming up, winnable game, and then they got against Lee, and Lee can't take them for granted. And like I said, they have it's going to be a tough task for them, but it'll be a great game. Like I mentioned, Johnson's got 2 winnable games. But they got to be careful with you mentioned with Churchill. Like I said, Churchill's kind of also up on the rise as well too, so there could be a difficulty there for them. So the next the last one we're going to look at 29 6A. It's been all Harlan. They've been running away with this district. They've had some little struggles in a couple of games, but they're going to pull them off. I know one of that to come back from behind and win. Kudos to the Warren Warriors. Big turnaround from last year. They're doing great. A little surprised with O'Connor. I know last year they had a really good squad that did contend against Harlan in a couple games. That playoff game against Del Rio was, I guess I was surprised that they were knocked off. I thought I had high hopes for them to, try to go maybe 2-3 deep into the playoffs. They've been struggling a little bit, but they're still within range of Warren to get that second spot. Another up-and-comer is John Jay. John Jay always plays a tough non-district schedule, and this is the payoff for them to get in that fourth spot. But right on their heels, they have Brennan. And Brendan Bears, if they can get a couple quality wins, they can get into that. It's pretty much as like from 2 to 5 is going to be, like I said, those teams in the race for the playoff spots. And then I think they've already kind of separated themselves from the other teams like TAPPS, Holmes, Stevens, and Sotomayor.
Yeah. This is, that in, Warren appears to be ahead of schedule. O'Connor, I think, is still trying to figure certain things out. And Jay's an interesting group. Keep your eye on them. They're I think they're still figuring things out, but I mean, wouldn't shock me to see them in the 3 or the 2 position in a couple of weeks.
So if you look at the upcoming schedule for this Friday, there are a couple of Saturday games. Harlan, big game here, Harlan at O'Connor. That's gonna be, if O'Connor wants to really kind of get their foot more into the playoff spot. This is an opportunity here to knock off Harlan. But Harlan, like I said, they can get a win here, pretty much locked for that district title. John Jay, another tough one with Warren. Like I said, because this could be for playoff seeding too as well. So you got your top 4 teams kind of battling out here this coming weekend.
Harlan sitting there at 9-0 and seeing O'Connor and Warren again. I'm assuming this is for the second time, so they can really stamp their by next Tuesday. They can really kind of, for all intent and purposes, really start to seal this district by next Tuesday. So can O'Connor or Warren maybe rise to the occasion and shake things up a little bit? Because right now this is full steam ahead for Harlan.
Yeah, and then Jay, like I said, big game against Warren, winnable game against Stevens to really kind of move up, their playoff seeding, because they do face against 36A, which is the Laredo teams, and Eagle Pass and Del Rio, which is not an easy task in that first round playoff games for them. Come March. So this is going to be the opportune time for some of these teams to kind of already start separating themselves. Especially Harlan here, those 2 wins, they can separate themselves, get the district title, and then the other teams try to get a lock on those playoff spots. So I think that's it. I believe, yeah. Actually, no. Now we're doing the girls. We're on the girls' side here. District 27 6A. We have New Braunfels Lady Unicorns in first place. Then we have Clemens, and then followed by surprising East Central and surprising San Marcos. And then we have Cibolo and Commerce Judson to round out the district play. So what do you think about this district? It's kind of a mirror image of the boys.
The big surprise here is Steele right now, right? They lost a ton from graduation last year. We know that, but it's also Steele, right? In terms of the talent that they have, the talent that they should have, and maybe it's just youth. Maybe they're just very young. But that's obviously granted they're 1 game in a district or 2 games, I should say, in a district play. So it's still early. They still got 80% of this district to play. But right now, they just when you look at their overall body of work, kind of a surprise. But we'll see how it plays out. I think right now it's New Braunfels, right? The Unicorns have clearly kind of established themselves as the front runner to a certain extent. But what happens with Clemens? Can Clemens catch them? And then from there, I think you're gonna see East Central, San Marcos, and Steele kind of in a probably a 3-way battle for those 2 positions, right? Maybe Judson can figure some things out. But I think question is going to be if San Marcos and East Central can start to separate a little bit from Steele and Judson. That's when it's going to come down to.
And if you look at the district schedule coming up, Steele at Judson, like I said, winnable game for them. But then they have the tough task next week against the rival Clemens, New Braunfels, at San Marcos, at Judson. 2 winnable games that kind of already start separating themselves from the rest of the pack there. Clemens, like I said, they have East Central, which has been a surprise this year. Like I said, they can't take them too lightly. And then, like I said, the rival game against Steele. East Central, like I said, if they can get some points off of Clemens and, it's kind of stay in contention, and then they have another winnable game against San Marcos the following week.
Mhm.
So now we're going to take a look at District 28 6A for the girls. Just like the boys, it's we got the usual suspects here as far as with the teams. The big surprise was with that big win by Johnson over Lee, that 4-1, the 4-0 win. Johnson kind of made a statement there. Hey, we're back. Even though they started out struggling a little early, took some months in non-district, I think they've kind of got their form back together. I think they're starting to peak at the right time. Reagan is Reagan. Like I said, they had that one loss against Lee. They're still in there. Like I said, tied their first place.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, Lee has been the surprise last year. Like I said, they were kind of the outside looking in, but they've kind of took full control of the district play until recently with Johnson. And then looking at the Brandeis Broncos, like I said, I think that fourth spot is it's gonna be a battle between Brandeis, Clark, and I think even Madison. When everything's said and done.
Yeah, I mean, you said it just like the boys. I think it's Lee, Reagan, and Johnson who kind of match up well within each other, right, against one another. Someone has just styles make matchups, right? And we have this discussion about a week and a half ago. It's Lee all day, right? Lee, who's just been surging. They're for real. They come out, they're 12-0, and then boom, all of a sudden it's just a shocking. Not a shock the fact that Johnson was able to defeat them, but how it played out, I think, was the shock. And then you have a Reagan team there. You have a Reagan squad there that they're dangerous. They can be scary. They have the potential to be scary because I think they're still figuring things out. I think they're far from, hitting on all cylinders. They're still very much figuring things out. And yet here they are at, 8-1 in district play. That speaks to their talent. That speaks to their coaching. And then, but yeah, I see them, those three clearly separated from everyone else. And then you're going to have, and then you got this next pack of three, right? Within Brandeis, a Clark squad that I really like, and then a Madison squad that I think is still growing in confidence, still figuring things out. But yeah, keep a close eye on Clark. Keep a close eye on Clark in this district as well to potentially shake things up with for that fourth seed, fourth spot, I should say, in this district.
Are you a little surprised with Churchill being in 8th place? They've had a history of success. The last few years in the playoffs. I know last year they didn't make the playoffs, but they were still kind of in contention. But this year they've really kind of had a big drop this year. How do you think about
with
that?
Churchill, it's you can argue extended history, and then you can also argue recent history in terms of how they've been playing, or just yes, they got a new they have a new coach. So there's always, whenever there's a new coach, you're trying to figure out, you have culture implementation, sorry, and then you also have system of play, trying to figure things out there. The coach is trying to learn, is like, hey, who can I rely on? Who can I depend on? How much turnover there was there in terms of what was lost to graduation. So yeah, I think it's real early. I think it's real early to put a label, I think, on Churchill, for lack of better words. So it may be, it's anytime you got a new coach, it's kind of, you got to give it about 3 years to figure things out. So maybe, and they just, then this district doesn't do them any favors because it's so brutal, right? So we'll see. I think there's, the book is still out. There's a lot more to come, but I think we'll see. I don't think we write them off yet. Obviously, tough time this season right now, but I don't think it's hey, they're I don't think it's hey, they're not responding to their new coach, or I don't think it's anything like that. I think they got to sort some things out. But sometimes this is how growth happens, right? This is how you learn who your players are, who you can rely on, the ones that go through these moments. So when the big turnaround happens, right, it starts from moments like this. So I think there's a lot more to come from Churchill.
And we're looking at the upcoming schedule. Like I said, Johnson will face Churchill this Friday, and they'll face Roosevelt the following week. So 2 winnable games for Johnson to stay on the heels there. We try and Reagan, like I said, stay in contention with Reagan and Lee. Reagan does have a bye this Friday, and then have a game next week against Marshall, winnable game for them. Lee's got a couple little tests. Brandeis, no slouch. I think they'll be tested in that game. Same thing at Clark the following week. They'll be tested there too. I think they're starting to kind of turn the page there, give them some problems with some teams. And I did see them against a few weeks ago against Reagan, and their goalkeeper made some excellent saves to keep them in the game. I think that was a real tight game. It was a close win for Reagan, but Clark kind of kept them in. Same thing, like I said, Brandeis, you got Lee, and they got Madison next week. So great, tough game. Like I said, tough test for Lee coming up, but I think they can winnable games. But there are going to be, like I mentioned, tested for this Friday and next week. So take a look last at District 29 6A for the girls. Kind of mirror image of like last year. It was a 3-horse race between Taft, O'Connor, and Brennan. Surprise team this year has been the Warren Lady Warriors, but also the Sotomayor Wildcats. They're still in contention for that last playoff spot. Key games are coming up this Friday. Saturday. This Friday would be Taft against Brennan. And then the following week at O'Connor, and which we would discuss on that. We'd discuss in a bit. Like I said, O'Connor, they got Harlan, and then they got the showdown with Taft. Brennan, like I said, they have the big game against Taft, and they do have a bye. And then, like I said, the following week we'll have a couple other games as well. I'm trying to look and see here if they have any for yourselves. But if you look at the districts here, the district race here, is this one for Taft to lose this year, or can O'Connor and Brennan catch up to them?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Well, ask me a week from now. I think I don't know. I think it's going to be. We were both in attendance for the first time these two played. Unfortunately, I won't be able to watch the second one just because I'll be in Houston, right, for a state playoff game. But yeah, I think they're two different teams. Taft and O'Connor. They're constructed very differently, right? Taft in terms of physical, both technical, but very different, right? Taft very physical. Taft knows their identity. O'Connor is a very a very athletic squad, a very fast squad. They want to run with the ball. They're a squad that'll excel on a big field, right? And but I think O'Connor's still learning that about themselves, right? They're establishing their identity, whereas Taft a year ago, these two teams were flip-flopped, right? Taft was still learning that identity that they now have, that they know they have, right? And then, I mean, you got Brennan right behind them, and you got I think you have I don't want to call them really a surprise. They're just ahead of schedule in Warren. And you can argue the same for Sotomayor, right? A squad filled with freshmen and sophomores, really, from my understanding. Maybe some juniors. I think it's all freshmen, predominantly freshmen and sophomores. But yeah, I mean, it's and then Jay, even Jay. I think somewhere in there, don't put it past Jay to have some sort of big upset here that rattles things in this district. So this is a very fun district, and like I said, they're just coming up on on the halfway point now.
Yeah,
in this
they're
district.
they're starting round 2. Yeah.
Yeah. So it'll be fun to see. I think that if you have the opportunity to go check out next Tuesday that Taft and O'Connor matchup, which I think is scheduled for, was it Ferris? I think it was.
I think so.
That's going to be a fun one to watch. If you can get there, go watch that. Those are two teams that they compete hard against each other. They know each other extremely well, and they match up very well against each other. So it's a fun match to watch. This is a very fun district.
Yeah. Taft's been, like I said, to me, they've been the impressive team this year. I think they've taken that next step. Like last year, where they were trying to still figure out, but they did cost O'Connor the district title last year when one of those district games towards the end, and allowed Brennan to win the district, to win district. But then O'Connor kind of got revenge in that playoff game. So we could see that again. And I think these three teams, will make a deep run into the playoffs and maybe face each other in the maybe possibly even Warren possibly face each other in the regional quarterfinals. Like I said, by district play, I think they're going to be the favorites. Whoever's the district champion in 36A, they're still going to have to contend with Warren. I think they have the talent enough to beat a district champion from 36A.
Yeah, all I know is if I'm a playoff team coming out of this district, I do not want to see another team from this district for a third time in the playoffs, right? Out of this district. I would not want to, just because that's how even though Taft is the current front runner, they're just their styles are so different, but yet they know each other so well and they match up pretty well. They match up pretty well. So yeah, I would just not want to see someone else out of this district in the playoffs and have to face them for a third time, because who knows what could happen at that point.
Yeah, and then especially here in the second round, like I said, I think if Taft can knock off O'Connor and Brennan, I think they pretty much lock that district title. And I think the one interesting game is going to be towards the end of the last district game of the season, that Sotomayor and Warren. That could determine the last playoff spot for District 29 6A. And even though Sotomayor had a setback against Warren, there's still plenty of time for them to kind of get things together. They're a young team, and like I said, they're getting seasoned. I think they're building confidence more and more, even though they may have some losses against Brennan or O'Connor or Taft. I think that's getting them more battle tested towards the end. And then maybe be prepared for that last game against Warren, close in the middle of March. So, like I said, this is a district upcoming schedule. I mentioned big game tomorrow night, Brennan versus Taft, and then next week the one again Taft at O'Connor. So great matchups right there coming up, and so if you have an opportunity, check out some great soccer teams, here for District 29 6A, and that should lead us to. This is my first time playing with this. so overall, Coach, what do you think about so far with the season with the UIL teams?
It's been fun. It's been fun. I think teams are still, especially with the San Antonio focus, I think you still have it's a power grab, right? It's like you have certain teams trying to establish their dominance, other teams kind of, it's just no team, depending upon the district, right? No team, you can argue maybe Elmo Heights on the girls' side that has been exclusively dominant, because you can't even entirely make that argument for Elmo Heights boys, right? Who, yes, their record is strong, obviously undefeated in district play, but they've been challenged, right? They've been challenged. So yeah, I think it's been fun so far. Greater San Antonio area. There's a lot of soccer to be played still, and now I think we'll know a lot more by the end of the month. We'll know a lot more by the end of the month in terms of is it going to be a tight race? Is it going to be a district that comes down to the very end? Is it going to be a number one who separates themselves from the pack, and then everyone else? It's maybe four schools fighting for the other three positions, or is it 1 and 2 and then everybody else, right? And then you have three. You've seen it before. 3, maybe 4 schools fighting for those last 2 positions, or does it become the last 2, right? 4 and 5 fighting for that last position. These districts, they all start to take shape. They all start to kind of form their own personalities. But I think we got some great matchups that are coming up in the next week, in the next 2 weeks. So we'll know a lot more by the end of the month.
Yeah, we're looking forward to a lot of those great matches coming up. So you have a chance out there, if you're watching out there, head up to to the games out there, support that, our high school soccer here in San Antonio, whether TAPPS or UIL. Like I said, we want to showcase our talent here and show the other regions, hey, we have some quality teams. Like I said, we have some state champion teams here. We got some teams that made it to Final Four, and I think we have some contenders this year from all classifications, from 4A, 5A, and 6A. So looking forward to this kind of the second half of this district play and how things turn out, and then get ready for that bracketology for the UIL in mid-March. Any final things, Coach, you didn't want to plug in as far as what's coming up for you guys, especially with 50-50 podcasts?
Yeah. Well, a couple things really quick. First of all, thank you to you and Harry for having me on here. I really appreciate you guys. It's always fun to be on. It's always fun to be on a podcast rather than hosting it, right? Uh, but no, I think that couple of things. Just a couple. First and foremost, shout out to my squad. Shout out to my girls. Very proud of them as we wrapped up our regular season in TAPPS play today, and locked in the number 3 seed as we get ready to play, as we get ready to travel to Houston to take on the number 2 seed out of District 5 there in Class 5A. So looking forward to that one. We got some preparation to do. It's always a fun time of year in the state playoffs. So the other piece of my big plug there is um, UIL gets a lot of the press, but also don't forget, it's like, hey, playoffs are on their way. Playoffs officially kick off this Saturday on the TAP side, on the private school side. So you'll start to see by district rounds. You'll start to see by district rounds kick off this Saturday in TAP state playoffs, and then area round takes place next Tuesday with the regional final round kicking off next Saturday, a week from this Saturday. Um, Only 2 other plugs I got really. So first and foremost, one other shout out, I guess, if you want to call it that, is a lot. I know we're gonna have a lot of our players in this area that are going to be making the trip to Houston this weekend, playing in a big ECNL showcase event in Houston. So good luck to all of you. Please remember to watch your load management in terms of your high school games plus your club games. Just monitor yourself. That's the big thing, because then you're going to turn right back around and play in more high school games next week. So it's not a matter of a burden falling on a high school coach or a club coach. I think it's a matter of all coaches monitoring your athletes, but then also athletes kind of monitoring themselves and and communicating with their coaches more than anything. Uh, so kudos and best of luck to all of you who are headed to Houston for the showcase event there. Wishing you the absolute best of luck, and hope all of you shine in front of college coaches. And then the last piece is in terms of the podcast itself, the 50/50 podcast. We have an upcoming episode this Saturday, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We will have Coach Bruce Reichman, the winningest high school coach in Texas high school soccer history, who just went over out of El Paso del Valle. He just had his 700th career win. So we're excited to have him on Saturday, and then a couple of weeks we'll be back with Inside Texas High School Soccer, man.
Yeah, we'll have the new state power rankings for the boys and the girls. Yeah, there's some big changes from those 2 weeks, and we'll see if within 2 weeks we'll see maybe some upsets and some teams starting to pull away, and we'll see if number 1, like especially on the girls side, will Salt Lake Curl kind of run the table there in their district? Will they stay number 1, or will Salina, kind of take their spot? I know they're biting on their heels. And they're in the same thing with the boys' side,
Good luck trying to
justify
why South Lake Carroll shouldn't be number 1 on any ranking list right now, right? It's tough. It's as great as Salina is playing right now. As great as Salina is playing right now. Yeah.
I had a pleasure watching them play against Johnson, and I was really impressed, and especially for a young team too. That's the scary part about them. So we'll see. But it's great. Like I said, we have some. It just showcases how much talent we have in the state of Texas as far as soccer in general. We're getting, like I said, players playing at the high levels and so forth. But my final thought for today, like I said, good luck to all the teams out there, like it's in San Antonio this coming weekend. If you have a chance, check out some key games there, like at Ferris, Gustafson, Comalander, or anywhere in the San Antonio area. Check them out. And also, good luck to all the players going to the showcase in Houston. And also, like I said, we're looking forward, like I said, for this coming week, opening with the San Antonio SAFC Fancast. We'll have another episode. We did have a signing this week, and possibly maybe another signing. And then we had one of our best players depart, saying he's little goodbyes.
Yeah, I saw that. Just about maybe 20-30 minutes after I got off the phone with you earlier today. I saw that. Yeah, it's thank you. I posted on there. Gracias, gracias, Santi. Yeah, it's sad to see him go.
Yeah, and also we found out the U.S. Open Cup. We're gonna the boys will be taking a trip to Florida. I'll be a little vacation also as well for them and Kissimmee. So we're gonna be talking about that with Harry, Royce, Robert, myself. Like I said, we'll be on there on Sunday night at 7:30. So make sure you tune in for the San Antonio fan cast. I'd like to say, thanks for guys for tuning out tonight. And what's life without goals? Thank you, Coach, for being on. And like I said, well, don't forget to tune in tomorrow. We'll have the first ever TAPPS Bracketology. I don't think we're going to go 6 or 7 hours like the UIL, but it should be a fun one. Like I said, we want to show the love for TAPPS, because TAPPS does have some great soccer as well too. They have some great players and also great programs, and we want to showcase them as well and give our predictions coming up for this year. But thank you again. Thanks for tuning in. On behalf of Harry, like I said, we see you guys next week.